Welcome to another episode of Undercover Hustlers, the podcast where we peel back the layers of hustle culture and take you behind the scenes of industries we think we know. Today, we're clocking in and clocking out of the restaurant world. Let's get into it. When I was in high school, I hated asking my parents for money. I had expensive hobbies like shopping, eating out with friends, you know the vibe. We lived in a new, still developing neighborhood near my school, and one day I decided I was over being my mom's broke bestie. I walked over to one of the new restaurants still under construction. The door was open, so I stepped inside. I saw a man sitting at the bar with his laptop. He looked pretty important. My heart was literally beating out of my chest, but I walked up and asked if they were hiring. Duh, of course they were. I followed up later that day and landed an interview for the next morning. I had no clue what I was walking into. No experience, no resume, just vibes. But I got hired. That's how I started as a hostess at Hudson Coastal. It was a family-owned spot, and starting there was one of the best things that could have happened to me. Since I was too young to serve at the restaurant, I stayed front of house. But over the years, especially once I got to college, I worked my way through the industry, turning into a server and picking up just about every role in between. Being an OG hostess with the mostest, turned server, turned jack of all trades, it taught me so much about myself and about the restaurant world. I built an entire social circle through my jobs. I had a steady flow of cash for the first time, and I developed a whole new level of people skills, especially that cater to the customer mindset. So if you've ever worked in a restaurant or you're just curious for the inside scoop, grab a drink and get comfy because this episode is for you. Let's talk about the money, the real reason most of us start working in restaurants in the first place. When you're new, your job options are limited. You've got front of house or back of house. That's it. Kitchen work, you usually need experience or culinary background. For serving or bartending, also experience, because that's where the money is, tips. Even to host or bus tables in some places, you need a foot in the door or a connection. In California, you legally need a food handler certification just to be on the floor in any environment that handles food. That's the first hoop. Now let's get to the bag. Tip wages vary drastically by state. In Maryland, when I was serving, we made about $3.25 an hour. Yes, you heard that right. $3.25. How is that even legal? Because of something called the tip credit. Basically, restaurants are allowed to pay you below minimum wage as long as your tips bring you up to at least the state's hourly minimum. If they don't, the restaurant is supposed to make up the difference. But let's be real, that rarely happens unless you make noise. Now in California, it's different. Here, servers make full minimum wage, currently $16 an hour in most places and up to $20 an hour in some cities. Sounds great, right? Well, not quite. Because here's the kicker. You're still forced to claim all your tips, cash and card, on your payroll. So even if you walk out with $300 in cash that night, your paycheck might come out to literal cents. The smallest paycheck I've ever got was 7 cents. No exaggeration. Think about how that feels. In a society where your work is validated by what's on paper, getting a paycheck that says 7 cents after a full week of shifts is mentally exhausting. It's like your labor doesn't even count. You're physically and emotionally drained. And for what? And because your income is shift-based, not salaried, you're living in this weird in-between. You're not paycheck to paycheck, you're shift to shift. It's a hustle that requires next level budgeting skills. You can't just ball out on your days off. You're constantly calculating how many tables you'll get this week, whether it's payday weekend for guests, if the weather is gonna be trash and keep people home. You're always mentally 5 steps ahead. And now, let's debunk one of the biggest myths in the industry, that your server keeps 100% of the tip you leave. Nope. Not even close. In most restaurants, especially corporate or high volume ones, servers are required to tip out a portion of their earnings. That means the money you left them is being split up between the bartender who made your espresso martini, the food runner who brought out that appetizer piping hot, the busser who cleared your plates and refilled your water, the hostess who got you seated at your favorite booth, and sometimes even the kitchen staff, the ones sweating over that grill for your well-done burger. So when you stiff a server or tip less than 15%, you're not just shorting them. You're cutting into a whole team's earnings. Let's break it down with a scenario. Let's say you tipped $20. Your server might only see $10 of that. Maybe. The rest goes to the team. So when something goes wrong, remember, if your food took a while, that's likely a kitchen backup or a ticket mistake. If you didn't like the flavor, your server doesn't know your taste buds. The wait was long, it's Friday night, and you didn't have a reservation. If your drink didn't get refilled in time, your server might be triple sat, slammed, and literally running around the restaurant. The restaurant is a machine, and your server is just one cog trying to keep it all moving smoothly. So yes, if your service is truly awful, leave honest feedback. But understand this, refusing to tip doesn't send a message. It just hurts the team. So if you've got the means, tip 20% or more. You're not just rewarding a server, you're investing in a system that has been undervalued, overworked, and underappreciated for decades. Obviously, the one who gets the most credit is the server. They are your point of contact, trying to make the best impression on you with quirky jokes or strong recommendations. Servers have the potential to make the most money and bring in the most revenue for the restaurant. So in a way, they're highly valued. The only role above them could arguably be the bartenders. Not only are they making drinks for the entire restaurant, but they also serve customers seated at the bar. Bartenders get tipped both by patrons sitting at the bar and from the servers tipping out. Plus, the bar usually has the highest turnover rate, meaning more chances to earn. Here's the basic rundown of the restaurant hierarchy from the bottom up. Back of house has the kitchen staff. They are so underappreciated yet essential. From the head chef, sous chef, line cooks, prep cooks, pastry chefs, to fry cooks, and hopefully I didn't leave anybody out, they handle everything food related. They often work long hours standing on their feet with minimal breaks in hot, cramped spaces. From designing the menu to decorating your plate, they do it all. Dishwashers, often isolated in their own little area, doing load after load. Having a good dishwasher is critical. If you've ever run out of forks on a busy Saturday night, you learn to appreciate your dishwasher. Expo or expediter. They are the server's point of contact when something needs to come out on the fly. They're doing quality control, making sure plates look good and orders are accurate before the food leaves the kitchen. Food runners. They carry the plates from the kitchen to your table and often get bombarded with requests for napkins, extra sauces, drink refills, even while managing a line of hot food stacking up behind them. Bussers. As you finish eating, the bussers are clearing plates, sanitizing tables, and resetting them for the next party. They're constantly on their feet, moving fast to turn tables. If you're a busser, invest in some comfy shoes. Swollen feet after a long shift are no joke. Host, the real behind-the-scenes MVPs. They manage the wait list, deal with grouchy guests, take to-go orders, keep the server rotation fair and flowing, and if they're good, they help the bussers reset tables too. Managers and owners. Honorable mention here, they handle the important stuff like smoothing over guest complaints, managing discounts or comps, ordering supplies, staff scheduling, and keeping the restaurant running in the background. And yes, probably hiding in the office sometimes too. Favoritism is very real in restaurants. It can come from both the managers and the host. The manager decides your section and chooses your schedule, meaning how many tables you get and where, and which days of the week you're able to work. The host decides which parties get seated in which sections and how often. Either one can drastically affect how much money you make in a shift. So, as a server, you have to be a people person, even with your coworkers. Don't mope around complaining when it's slow. Don't gossip or stir up drama. You have to keep your best face forward with everyone because your earning potential depends on the relationships you build behind the scenes. As a hostess, I remember working shifts where servers who I considered friends would get lucky. If I saw a big party come in, I'd seat them in my friends sections. Some servers even knew that if they consistently tipped out the hosts well, they could earn better tables when I was working. It's all a part of the game. Strategic relationship building to line up the money. As a server, I'll never forget working hot summer days on the pier in Santa Barbara. Working on the patio was the spot. Everyone wanted the ocean view and beautiful weather. Keeping good relationships with managers and hosts made all the difference. I usually landed in prime sections, and it showed in my tips. Shout out to my work allies. Those little behind-the-scenes connections kept me winning until it all started catching up to me. So there's a reason people say service industry workers deserve Oscars. The amount of fake smiling, polite tones, and mental gymnastics we do on a daily basis, it's a performance. And honestly, that shit is exhausting. I remember when I first started working, it didn't feel like a job. It felt like a mission. I became obsessed with how much I was working. Like I would literally clock out, sit in my car, and start calculating how much I made that day. I'd scroll through my hours in the work app and start tallying up the tips in my head like I was doing homework. I picked up every shift I could. I volunteered to close after I had just opened, worked every weekend, every holiday. I even graduated early my senior year of high school just so I could work day shifts before cheer practice. At one point, I had no real life outside of work. My closest friends were my coworkers. We hung out after shifts or on our rare day offs that happened to line up. We were trauma bonded over rude guests, side work, and shared venting sessions in the break room. And don't even get me started on the food. I ate at the restaurant constantly. When you're working nonstop, grabbing food off the line or using your employee discount becomes your diet. I was constantly eating greasy food, standing for hours, my skin breaking out from being in the hot kitchen all the time. My feet would swell up like balloons. I wish I had an Apple Watch back then just to see how many steps I was doing. I bet it was easily over 20,000 some nights. But deep down, it wasn't really the food, the friendships, or even the fast-paced rush that kept me locked in. It was the money. I was addicted to the earning potential, the high of a good tip out. I was chasing praise from coworkers, managers, and even guests. I liked being the one who everyone knew would pick up the slack, go the extra mile, never say no. But eventually, your body and mind hit a wall. It doesn't happen all at once. Burnout is sneaky like that. One day you're energized, laughing with your table, and the next, you're dreading even walking into the building. You start to notice your patience wearing thin. You feel drained, irritable, like you're on autopilot. You said, "Hi folks, can I start you off with something to drink?" so many times that it stopped sounding like words. There was this one shift I'll never forget. I was mid-double, hadn't eaten all day, and barely had time to pee. It was packed. I had a full section, and the food runners were nowhere to be found. I was literally sprinting food to my own tables while trying to get drinks, split checks, and wipe down another table so I could flip it. I'm in the middle of all this chaos, and my manager pulls me aside. Not to help, not to say, "Are you good? Do you need anything?" No. She asked me why the condiments weren't restocked. I smiled and nodded and said, "I'll get to it." But in my head, I was losing my shit. At that moment, I realized there's no prize for burning yourself out. No amount of clocked hours, no table turn speed record, no perfect side work is going to be worth it if you're dead inside. You hit a point where you're not even faking it till you make it anymore. You're just faking it. And on the rare days off, you're too tired to even enjoy life. Socially drained, physically worn down. But then you go right back into work and slap on that smile again. Eventually, I had to relearn what balance looks like. Saying no to shifts, taking real breaks, rebuilding a life outside of work. Because the hustle, yeah, it was real, but so was the burnout. So if you're listening to this and you're in the thick of it, please don't forget, rest is productive too. Protect your peace and don't let a paycheck cost you your whole personality. Working in the restaurant industry teaches you a lot about people, about business, and definitely about the hustle. First off, people are easily influenced. And I don't mean in a bad way. I mean, when you're face to face with someone, reading their vibe, you can upsell without it ever feeling pushy. You learn how to make things sound good. Whether it's suggesting a drink or highlighting your favorite dish on the menu, you start to understand how psychology and energy play into sales. The real money isn't always in the food, it's in the drinks. A $2 cocktail base gets flipped and sold for $14 or more. That's the hustle. The restaurant is doing it, the servers are doing it, and honestly, we all become marketers in the process. We're not just selling a plate, we're selling the experience. That's what fine dining really is. It's not about the $80 bottle of wine, it's the mood, the lighting, the playlist in the background, and your 5-star service that sells the fantasy. And that ties directly into entrepreneurship. Because running a business is all about how you present what you do. You could have the best product in the world, but if it doesn't hit, people won't buy in. Same with restaurants. If you're not on social media, relying on a few blurry Yelp photos and one-liner reviews from people who don't care about your livelihood, you're already losing. Every business needs a digital footprint, good content, strong visuals, a brand that feels alive. I didn't realize it at first, but working in restaurants prepared me for the creative career I have now. I was learning how to sell, how to connect with people, and how to create moments. And honestly, I believe everyone should work in service at least once, not just to humble yourself, but to build emotional intelligence, to learn how to read a room, and to understand timing, presentation, and tone. It's also a lesson in maximizing what you're given. In most serving jobs, your hourly rate is low, but the way you communicate, how you present the food, and how you manage your section, that's what determines how much you really take home. That's sales, that's storytelling, that's personal branding, even if it's just for one table at a time. And the crazy part, acts of service eventually became a love language for me. I love taking care of people, fixing them breakfast, handing them a snack with a cute little drink, just watching people feel good because of something I did, something I served. It's wild to think that a job that wore me out also softened me in the best ways. It gave me a new way to show love. So yeah, working the floor wasn't just a hustle, it was a whole education. And I carried those lessons with me into everything I do now. So whether you're behind the bar or in the kitchen or hustling through a packed restaurant floor, I see you. I know the grind and I respect the hustle. This industry teaches you more than just how to make money. It teaches you resilience, emotional intelligence, and how to create an experience for others. If you're someone who's ever worked in food service, I want to hear from you. Drop a comment or send me your best restaurant life story. I know you've got some wild ones. Let's celebrate the unsung heroes of the industry because it's time we get the recognition we deserve. And hey, if you're not already, make sure to follow me on social media. Catch me on Instagram and TikTok at Joss the Visionary for more behind-the-scenes content, business tips, and creative insights. You can follow the podcast Instagram at undercoverhustlers.pod. Let's keep the conversation going. Thanks for tuning in and keep hustling.